I'm gonna mana PPT-nya?
Wait, wait.
Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Uh, in here we are want to present about our database that we make. That is the school system database. So there is in our group there is four people. There is me, Ihsan Fauzi. There is Hilman Fatoni. There is Diva, and there is Ramadhan. Okay, so now for the introduction, schools are one of the education system that work to help improve human resources. From the education received by students in school, will be able to change the mindset and the creativity to create good state and increasing our economies. So for the database itself is a set of data managed in such way under certain interconnected provision so easily in its management. Through this management, users can obtain ease in finding information, store information, and also dispose the information itself. Okay, by utilizing the database to organize school data, it will be increased productivity that can be done by schools. With the existence of database, it can facilitate in accessing and organization the required data, the data that we will need. Right? Okay, so in here we will discuss about logical database design, the DL commands, the DML commands, the KL commands, algebra and calculus linear, and also the CL command. Okay, for the first logical and database design will be discussed by Diva.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about logical database design, the definition of ERD or entity relationship diagram. ER model stands for an entity relationship model. It is a high-level data model. This model is used to define the data elements and relationship for a specific system. It develops a conceptual design for the database. It also develops a very simple and easy to design view data. In ER modeling, the database structure is portrayed as a diagram called an entity relationship diagram or ERD. And this is the ERD or entity relationship diagram of database application in the school system. There are five entities. You can see there are student, classroom, teacher, subject, and grade entity. And for grade entity, it is a weak entity because grade entity is depend to other entities. For this ID, is depend to teachers entities, and NPM it depends to student entity. And every entities there are some subject for the student. There are some attribute, and for student the first is npm attribute, which is primary key, and then student name, student address, and student gender attribute. And for classroom entities, there are three attribute: class code attribute as primary key, teacher id, and semester. And for teacher entity, there are three attribute: teacher ID as a primary key, teacher's name, and also teacher's address. And for subject entity, there are three attribute: subject ID as primary key, subject name, and SKS. And for grade entity, there are three attribute: teacher ID, NPM, and also GPA. Uh, there are has has relationship between student and grade. It's for connect student and grade. Student has grade, and there is enroll relationship to connect student and classroom. Student enroll classroom, and also there is assign relationship to connect teacher assign classroom. And the last, there is give relationship to connect teacher give grade and student and subject. Next, DDL command. And the second one is DDL commands. DDL or data definition language consists of the SQL command that can be used to define the database schema. It simply deals with description of the database schema and is used to create and modify the structure of database object in the database. DDL is a set of SQL commands used to create, modify, and delete database structure but not data. These commands are normally not used by a general user who should be accessing the database via an application. And this is the creating the database command for database cool. Database name is cool. The command is create database name which is cool, and you use cool to use the database cool. And this is the DDL command for create table student. The command is create table student in the bracket field name and also data type. And in this condition, the field name is npm data type integer as primary key, and then student name for data type varchar, and then student gender data type enum male or female, and then student address data type varchar. Next, and this is for DDL command for creatable subject. The command is creatable subject in the bracket subject ID as a field name, varchar data type, uh, subject ID as a primary key, and then subject name data type varchar, and then SKS data type integer. DDL command for creatable teacher. The command create table teacher in the bracket this ID as a field name integer as data type and primary key for this ID. And the second is teach name data type varchar, subject ID data type varchar, teacher address data type varchar, and for subject ID it is a foreign key reference to subject ID in the subject table. And this is the DDL command for create table classroom. The command create table classroom in the bracket class code data type varchar as a primary key, teacher ID integer, semester integer, and for teacher ID it is a foreign key reference to teacher ID in the teacher table. And the last DDL command is to create table grade. The command is create table grade. npm integer npm data type integer, subject ID data type varchar, GPA data type integer, and for npm it is a foreign key reference to npm in student table, and subject ID is also foreign key reference to subject ID in the subject table. And the third is DML commands that will be continued by Ramadan.
Okay, thank you. Next is the ML command. DML serve to manipulate data in the database that has been created. The command or instruction for the DML in SQL are first the insert. Insert command followed by into in SQL is used to insert a new row in the table. Next is update. Update is a statement in SQL is used to update the data of existing table in the database. We can update single column as well as multiple columns using the update statement as per our requirement. Next is delete. Delete command is used to delete existing record in a table. Next. The first one is insert command to table student. The syntax is insert into student values. The values is as you can see as below. We insert 10 values into the table, 10 rows. The right side is the result of the insert. comment. Next, next is update comment in table student. The first comment is update student's name, Citra Kusuma, where the NPM is 211063704, and the second one is updating the student address. We changed the student address to Jakarta, where the NPM is 211063702. Next, next is delete comment in table student. Delete comment, the first delete comment is delete student using the NPM, and the second one is deleting student where using the student name. Next, next is inserting comment again, but we insert to table subject. What change is from the before is on table subject we only have three attributes, so we only insert three values, and then we insert the 10 rows, as you can see the result on the right side. Next, next is update comment on table subject. The first update is subject name using the subject ID, and the second one is updating the SKS using the subject ID too. Next, next is delete comment on table subject. The first one is deleting subject using the subject ID, and the second one using the subject name. Next, here we insert into teacher table. This have four attributes, so we insert four values and 10 rows of the values into the table. Next, update comment on teacher table. We update the teacher. The first one we update the teacher address using the teacher ID, and the second comment is updating the teacher name using the teach ID too. Next, next delete comment on teacher table. The first one is deleting the teacher row using the teacher ID. The second one is deleting the teacher row using the teacher address. Next, here we insert into classroom only three attributes and then 10 rows. Result is on the right side. Next, next, next is update comment on class table classroom. The first one is updating the semester using the class code, and the second one is updating the semester using the teacher ID. Next, delete comment on classroom table. The first one is deleting classroom using the class code. Next is the deleting the classroom row using the teach ID. Next, next is insert to grade to table grade. We have three attributes here, and then we insert 10 rows. Next, update comment on table grade. Update grade the GPA using the NPM, and the second one is the same as the first one. Update the GPA using the NPM. Next, delete comment on table grade. The first one is deleting the row on the table grade using NPM, and the second one is using the subject ID. Next, next is the QL comment will be explained by Hilman Fatoni.
Okay, thank you, Ramadan. So the KL command, the purpose of the KL command is to get some schema relation based on the query passed to it. You can define the KL getting data from the database and imposing other upcoding data. DQL is used for retrieving data. A user can retrieve data according to here selected into the statement on how getting the data out database station within command is used to retrieve this data in a record. And the next where student like A%. So in here we can see showing character A in and the next select all from table teacher ordered by teach name attribute teach name IC limit from 0 until 4 A D and C F. So the next select all from teacher where attribute teacher address like Padang. So you can showing like condition like this condition. And then next select teach ID, teach name and address from teacher where teach ID 11011 and subject ID F02. And the next select all from subject where subject name like percent %A. You can see character A in back the character. And then next select all from subject where subject name like B% in the front character of file value subject name B. And then next select all from grade where GPA greater than 3. In here it can showing GPA attribute value 4. Select class code and attribute semester from table classroom where semester in 3. It is there is you can see semester the value 3. And the next select class code attribute semester and from table classroom where the semester in 3 or 5. You can see in here display 3 and 5 in semester attribute. And the next select all from grade ordered by npm dsg. Here you can see uh, kebalikannya ya. Di sini ada 87654301. Okay, and the next select npm and attribute GPA from table grade where GPA like 4. That's the same. Yeah, this is same. Okay, next select npm and subject ID from table grade where subject ID like percent 1. That is, you can see subject ID showing 1 in back value of file subject ID. And the next select listing GPA from grade. You can see this there is no multi-value from GPA field to GPA. Yeah, so algebra and calculus linear. What is relational algebra? Relational algebra is procedural query language which takes relation as input and generate relation as output. Relational algebra mainly provides theoretical foundation for relational database and SQL. The relational algebra is a relation at a time or set language where all tuples are controlled in one statement without the use of a loop. So the first, this is the question. So teach ID is name and subject ID from teacher where this address from Bekasi. Projection is teach ID, is name and subject ID. Open bracket selection mark is this address equals Bekasi in relation teacher. So the second show NPM and GPA from PQV where you subject and then projection is NPM and GPA. Open bracket selection is subject ID equals F01 in relation grade table. And then third, show class code is ID and semester where semester are more than 4. Operation is class code is ID and semester. Open bracket selection is semester greater than 4 in relation classroom in the table classroom. And then for show student name that are male. The projection is student name. Open bracket selection is student gender equals male in relation student. And then 5. So NPM subject ID and GPA from grade where GPA is 4. Projection is NPM subject ID and GPA. Open bracket selection GPA equals 4 in relation grade. And 6 was the teacher from Lampung. The projection is this name, open bracket selection, each address equals Lampung in relation teacher. 7. So the semester 4 in the classroom. Projection is semester, open bracket selection is semester equals 4 in classroom. And 8. Who is the student from Lok Sumawe? Projection is student name, open bracket selection, student address equals Lok Sumawe in relation student. And 9. So this ID with this semester 4. And the projection this ID open bracket selection semester equals 4 in relation classroom. And then 10 glass who is the teacher who teaches the subject of mathematics. So the projection teach name open bracket selection is subject name equals MTK teacher join relation to subject. And then maybe my friend can explain it. Ramadan.
Okay, thank you. Next is relational calculus. Relational calculus is a non-procedural query language. In the non-procedural query language, the user is concerned with the detail of how to obtain the end result. The relational calculus tell what to do, but never explain how to do. Next, the first one is show the student name and teacher name that come from Bekasi. Attribute student name, teach name is essential of student. Element of teacher and student dot teacher ID equal to teach ID and student address and teach address equal to Bekasi. Number two is show the student name, course, and their DPA that above three. Attribute student name, subject name, and DPA is essential of student. Element of grade, student.npm equal to npm, and essential course equal to GPA more than 3. Number 3 is display teach name and class code that teacher gender is male. Attribute teach name class code is essential of teacher. Element of classroom teacher.teach ID equal to teach ID, and teach gender is equal to male. Number 4, find NPM subject ID and GPA of our values which have value above 2. Attribute G is grade grade S and G.GPA more than 2. Number 5, show the student who were born in Jakarta and Bekasi. Attribute student name is essential of student and stud ad, ADDR is equal to Jakarta and Bekasi. Next, number 6 is show class code that is in semester 4. Attribute class code is essential of classroom and semester is equal to 4. Number 7 is show students with teacher Dadam Sukaresi. Attribute student name is essential of student. Element of teacher student dot teach ID equal to teach ID and teach name equal to Dadang Sukaresi. Number 8 is show the NPM and name of the female student. Attribute NPM stud name is essential of student and gender is equal to female. Number 9 is show the NPM and stud name come from Bekasi and Jakarta. NPM dot stud name essential of student and stud ADDR is equal to Bekasi and Jakarta. Number 10, show subject name with semester less equal than 3. Attribute subject name essential of subject and semester is less equal than 3. Next, next is the CL comment will be explained by Ihsan Fauzi.
Okay, so DCL command is short for data control language. The DCL command is a statement used to perform the work related to the rights, permission, and other control of the database system. So if before the comments most of all apply to the table, now the command is applied to the users. So we have to create the user first, and then we apply the comments or control language or permission that what can they do in this database. There are two most important DCL commands. There is grant. This command used to grant permission to the user to perform or database administration, and you want to restrict user access, such as one who only views the data or one only update the data. You can give the privilege or permission to the user according to your wish. So basically, grant is give permission to user to do something in your database. It only it can be only viewing the data. It can also include the update the data and so on and so forth. And for revoke, this is the command is used to take permission or access back from the user. If you want to return the permission from the database, you have to grant it to the user at the time. You need to run the revoke command. So revoke is like taking back the the permission that you give before using the grant command, and revoke is to take it back. Next. Okay, just like I said before, in order to apply these commands, we have to make the user first. So there is three users in this database. There is admin, teacher, and students, and they are all have like host. The host is localhost. So for first user is admin and grant commands. So in this example, so for admin we give them grant all on school dot all to admin localhost. It basically means the admin can do everything in database school. And for if you want to like know what the grants or permission that you give to the admin, you just have to show grants for admin localhost. Next. Okay, so grant comments now is for teacher. Grant select on school dot teacher to teacher at localhost. So it means that the teacher can fetch the data from database school and table teacher. Next, for grant insert on school.teacher at localhost. So it means that the teacher can insert the data using that DML command that already explained by Ramadan in database school teacher to teacher. It basically means that we give the permission to teacher to delete the data on table teacher. And for grand alter on school.teacher to teacher, it basically means that the teacher have permission to change the structure of the data using the alter command. So for the grand update on school.teacher to teacher, it basically means that we select the data on the database school on table teacher. And for grand select on school.student, so it basically means that the teacher can see or can fetch the data from the table students also. And as you can see, like in here, there is grand usage on teacher. So basically, it means that teacher can do anything on teachers. Ini terus grand select insert update delete alter on school dot teacher. Just like I explained before, and there is grand select also on school dot student. That just like I explained before. Next. Okay, so for grant comments now is for student. Grant select on school.student. So it basically means that student can fetch their own data if they need it in the future. So next is grant update on school.student. So it's basically mean that student can update their own data in student table. Next is grant delete on school.student to student. So it's basically means student can delete their own data in the database in the future. Next. Okay, now for revoke. Just like I explained before, revoke is when you take it back the permission that you give before. So revoke all on school dot at for from admin at localhost. So if before it then we use for, now we use from. Okay, so revoke all this basically mean that we revoke all the permission that we give to admin before. Means that we revoke the permission to select or to view or to fetch the data from the table teacher. As you can see, there is many example here that basically means that they are revoked from they are not getting the permission that we give before. For example, there is insert, delete, alter, update, select, and update and delete to student and also a teacher. So basically, they are not getting their permission again. So they cannot fetch the data, they cannot update again, they cannot insert again. Okay. As you can see, if we check the grants or for the every user, uh, there's no permission again. There's no permission like before because we already revoked it here. Next. Okay,
Okay.
so for the conclusion, the school is one of the education system that work to help improve human resources. The schools help students get the right mindset and creativity to create a good country and improve the economy of in the country. To have an effective school system, the schools need a database to have all data from teacher and the student disaggregated and easily accessible. The database itself is a collection of data that is managed in such a way with a certain provision that are interconnected so that basically through this management through this management, school employees or students can obtain convenience in finding information, storing information, and also disposing the information. In this database, there are five tables, which is include students, teacher, class, classes and subjects and grade. Therefore, we created this school database to create a more effective school system so that students can achieve a better result in the future because now students don't have to bother again to find the data or find their subject, they find the classroom, etc. Okay, so that's it for us for making the database school. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Anjay, kelar